mynews.studio.
Solar panels and wind turbines now generate more electricity in the EU than coal or gas. Could this shift actually change global energy markets?
Today is February 1st, 2026. The latest figures just came out, and for the first time, wind and solar together have overtaken fossil fuels in the EU's electricity mix. Renewables now provide 30%, just ahead of fossil fuels at 29%. So, what does this really mean for the energy landscape?
It's a big shift. Just to put it in perspective, last year, solar generation alone jumped by more than 20%. Now, solar covers 13% of the EU's electricity needs. Wind is holding steady at 17%. We're not talking about experimental technology here. This is proven wind and solar, rolled out at scale, and very quickly.
But why did this happen now instead of, say, 5 years ago? What changed to make this possible?
The main player was the Affordable Energy Action Plan. The EU aimed to cut high energy prices, especially those linked to imported fossil fuels. That meant prioritizing renewables produced locally. So, we saw rapid auctions and more investment. For example, just in the first half of 2025, the EU added 6.8 gigawatts of wind. Solar grew at a record pace too.
When you mention auctions, can I just clarify? That's when governments offer contracts to companies to build new wind and solar projects, right?
Yes, exactly. It's a system where companies compete to offer the lowest price for new projects, and whoever bids lowest gets the contract. It speeds things up. Plus, updated 2030 targets pushed countries to act now instead of waiting. Annual wind auctions became standard, and that turned policy into actual capacity on the grid.
But renewables aren't always reliable. What about times when there's no sun or wind? How did they handle that?
That's where grid-scale batteries and grid modernization came in. In 2024, the EU managed to cut curtailment. That's the energy wasted when the grid can't handle it, by 72 terawatt-hours. Batteries helped smooth out fluctuations, and grid upgrades reduced congestion. Without these changes, renewables couldn't have reliably reached 30%.
So, batteries and grid improvements are really key here. But what about countries like Germany and Poland? They've always relied a lot on coal. How did they adapt?
It wasn't straightforward. Coal use dropped to historic lows, under 10% of EU electricity. But both countries faced big economic and political challenges. There were concerns about coal jobs, regional economies, and the temptation to just switch to gas instead. What really made the difference was rapid growth in solar and aggressive wind auctions.
Was it just a matter of building more wind and solar, or was there something else that pushed things forward?
Policy played a big role too. It wasn't just about building power plants. The EU focused on auction-based investment, overhauled the grid to manage variable supply, and made plans to support workers affected by the coal phase-out.
Other regions must be watching this closely. What's keeping them from just copying what the EU has done?
Some are already trying, but it's not always simple. Not every region is adding wind capacity this quickly. In some places, liquefied natural gas is filling the gap instead. The EU's approach works because of strong policy, big investments, and a real push to upgrade the grid, but it can't be applied everywhere in the same way.
With the EU cutting fossil fuel demand, does this change the global market? Could it drive more innovation, or are there new risks to watch out for?
Both, actually. Lower demand for fossil fuels puts pressure on countries lagging behind and encourages more innovation. Things like better grids, more energy storage, smarter management. But if investment slows, there are still risks. Intermittency and energy security could become bigger issues.
So why does this milestone matter outside of Europe? What's the bigger story here?
It's proof that a large economy can actually transition at scale. The EU has shown that ambitious climate targets are possible when policy, investment, and technology work together. This will influence global energy trends, spur more innovation, and increase the pressure on slower-moving countries.
It's really the start of a new chapter, not just for Europe, but for global energy.
That brings us to the end for today. We opened with a question about renewables overtaking fossil fuels, and now we've seen how it's become a possible blueprint for others to follow.
Thanks for listening. Today, we unpacked the EU's tipping point, the technology behind it, the policies, and the broader impact around the world.
Thank you for tuning in. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. You can try it now for free.